The man who shows everything has already lost. Most men believe visibility equals power. They believe recognition equals influence. They believe applause equals victory. This belief destroys more men than failure ever will. Because the moment you reveal everything you have, everything you are, and everything you are building, you stop being dangerous. You become predictable, and predictable men are easy to defeat. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. In The Prince, he warned rulers never to expose their true intentions. A prince who reveals his hand too early invites enemies to plan against him. Today, the same mistake happens everywhere. Men display their money, their plans, their relationships, their victories, and then they wonder why resistance appears. Let us dismantle this illusion step by step. Phase 1. The fatal signal. The moment you show your success, you send a signal, not admiration, a signal of location. Imagine a sniper on a battlefield. He is invisible, untouchable, unstoppable, until he fires recklessly and reveals his position. The second his location is known, artillery begins moving toward him. That is what bragging does. You reveal your coordinates. When you display wealth, you reveal your resources. When you display status, you reveal your insecurities. When you display plans, you reveal your direction. Machiavelli wrote, "Men should either be treated generously or destroyed." Why? Because people do not tolerate threats comfortably. If you appear too strong, they fear you. If you appear too successful, they resent you. So they begin planning ways to weaken you. And the tragic part is this: they were neutral before. You turned them into enemies. Phase 2. The blueprint of your weakness. Every brag is a confession. Every display is intelligence. When you show the world what you value, you show them exactly where you can be attacked. If you brag about money, your enemies attack your finances. If you brag about intelligence, they attack your reputation. If you brag about relationships, they attack your emotional stability. Machiavelli warned that a wise ruler must be both a fox and a lion. The lion scares the wolves. The fox sees the traps. But the man who constantly shows his trophies is neither fox nor lion. He is prey advertising himself. You would never hand an enemy the blueprint to your fortress. Yet every time you boast publicly, you do exactly that. You hand them the map, and you circle the weak walls. Phase 3. The theater of the insecure. Look carefully at the loudest men in any room. They talk about their money, they talk about their conquests, they talk about their influence. But Machiavelli understood something uncomfortable. Power rarely speaks loudly. Power moves quietly. In The Prince, Machiavelli explained that a ruler must master appearance without revealing truth. The insecure shout, the powerful conceal. The dog that barks is announcing fear. The wolf that hunts does not announce anything. You see the result only after the attack. When someone constantly tries to impress you, they are not demonstrating strength. They are seeking permission to feel important. And the moment someone seeks permission, they surrender power. Phase 4. The currency of scarcity. Value obeys a simple law. Scarcity creates respect. Abundance creates indifference. Diamonds are valuable because they are rare. Oxygen is free because it is everywhere. Now apply that principle to human presence. When you share every thought, every plan, every achievement, you become common, you become predictable, you become noise. But when a man speaks rarely, his words gain weight. When he appears rarely, his presence gains gravity. When he reveals little, people assume depth. This is not deception, this is strategy. A prince does not narrate every decision. He acts, then the world interprets. Phase 5. The Grey Man Doctrine. Intelligence agencies train operatives to become something called the Grey Man. The Grey Man is not memorable. He is not impressive. He blends perfectly into the background, and because no one notices him, no one blocks him. Machiavelli would have admired this concept because the safest ruler is not the loudest. It is the one whose enemies underestimate him. If people think you are average, they relax around you. They reveal secrets. They expose weaknesses. They lower defenses. And while they are distracted by the loud peacocks performing in the center of the room, the gray man walks away with the prize. Quick invitation before we go deeper. If this way of thinking resonates with you, subscribe. Not for entertainment, for sovereignty. Most people watch content to feel motivated. But this channel exists for something different. To help a small minority think like architects of power. If that interests you, you know what to do. Now let us continue. Phase 6. The addiction to applause. Showing off is not about success. It is about validation. When someone boasts, they are silently asking a question. Do you approve of me? And the moment you ask that question, you give others authority over your identity. Machiavelli warned rulers never to rely on the opinions of crowds. Because crowds are unstable, they cheer today. They revolt tomorrow. When your happiness depends on applause, you become a performer. And performers are not rulers, they are entertainers. A prince governs, he does not audition. Phase 7. The strategic mask. The greatest deception is not pretending to be powerful, it is pretending to be harmless. Sun Tzu wrote, "Appear weak when you are strong." Machiavelli reinforced this philosophy repeatedly. A wise ruler conceals his capabilities until action is unavoidable. Imagine two businessmen entering negotiations. One arrives wearing visible wealth, luxury watch, designer suit, aggressive confidence. The other arrives looking ordinary, calm, unremarkable, quiet. Who do you think people underestimate, and who ultimately controls the negotiation? The one nobody studied, because nobody feared him. Underestimation is one of the most powerful cloaks ever invented. Phase 8. The poison of envy. There is a reason nearly every civilization warned about envy. The Greeks called it Bascania. The Romans called it invidia. Many cultures call it the evil eye. But remove superstition and the mechanism becomes clear. When people see something they cannot obtain, they begin hoping for your downfall, sometimes consciously, often unconsciously. Envy changes behavior. Friends become distant. Colleagues become obstructive. Allies become competitors. When you display every victory publicly, you multiply these reactions. You invite invisible resistance. And most men never realize why things suddenly become harder. They blame luck. They blame circumstances. But often the cause is simple. They made their success too visible. Phase 9. The sovereign mind. The final stage is psychological independence. The moment you no longer need recognition, you become extremely difficult to control. Machiavelli believed the strongest prince was the one who relied on his own discipline rather than the approval of others. Because approval can be withdrawn, but discipline cannot. When you stop seeking validation, several things happen. Criticism loses its power. Praise loses its intoxicating effect. Silence becomes comfortable. And the strange thing is this: people begin respecting you more, not because you demanded respect, but because you clearly do not need it. At this point, you may realize something uncomfortable. Most of society operates like a theater. People compete for attention. They compete for recognition. They compete for applause. But the real architects of power operate backstage. They build quietly. They accumulate quietly. They move quietly. And by the time the crowd realizes what happened, the structure of power has already changed. Before we close, another invitation. If you want to move beyond surface-level psychology and begin studying the deeper mechanics of power, subscribe, not because this channel needs subscribers, but because sovereignty requires knowledge. The public videos are only the visible layer. The deeper strategies belong to those willing to step further. If that is you, step into the architect level. Most people will not. That is precisely why it works. Remember this. The loudest man in the room is rarely the most powerful. The peacock displays its feathers, the king moves his armies, and as Machiavelli understood long ago, the most dangerous prince is the one nobody fully understands. Move quietly, win privately. Let the results speak only when the game is already over.